I'm Darlene and this is Heartfelt Crochets. And today I am going to share with you 4 of the most used seams for granny squares on seaming granny squares together. And I'm going to teach you how to do each one of them. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have my 2 squares and I'm using this very bright pink yarn so that you can see that a couple of these seams are to the point that you can't see them at all, especially if you're using the same color yarn that you used in your squares. So there is one seam stitch that I'm going to be using that I'm going to need more yarn for, but generally you would end up cutting a piece of yarn that is about 3 lengths of your square, but because the single crochet seam stitch takes up more yarn than that, I am going to double up and then I'm going to give that a snip. Now we're going to start with the whip stitch. Okay, so I'm going to sandwich my 2 squares together so that the outside is facing out. Okay, so wrong side out. And then I'm going to thread my yarn needle. Now I am going to insert it in this corner stitch under both loops, and the same in this corner stitch under both loops. Okay, gonna bring that through. And then I'm going to do the same thing under the same stitches just to lock this yarn in. I am going to be using this yarn over and over again, but we still want to lock it in just so that you can see how to do it. Now you can go either way. You can start going this way or you can go this way. I am going to go from front to back under both loops of both squares, and then you're going to come back around this way again and do the same thing, and again just keep on whipping it over. So then you want to just make sure that your stitches are lined up, and you're just going to continue under both loops from front to back, and that is the whip it stitch. Okay, so that when you open up, you are going to have, let me zoom in just a little bit, you are going to have these really nice clean stitches that are just going around and around. But like I said, if you use the color that you are using on your squares, then it's going to look very nice. The next stitch is the invisible seam stitch. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thread my needle again. And it's still locked in. And now we are going in the back loop only, from front to back, and pull that through. Get that to stay out of the way. Then we are going to come back from back to front in the back loops only, and then front to back, always in the back loop only, back to front, front to back, back to front. And that's all there is to the invisible seam stitch. Now I'm going to continue this for the whole row because I want you to see when I open it up just how invisible it truly is when you open up your work so that you can see the front side. So back loop only, back to front, front to back, continue back and forth like that, and then joining in that stitch at the corner. Okay, so now when you open this up, you're going to take these two tails and you're going to pull ever so slightly. Look at that. Look at that. You can't see that at all. And it's pink. So, yeah, it's a little close, but you'd be able to see the difference. I probably should have used yellow, but you get the idea because you can't see that, especially if you were to use these two colors. It's amazing. That's the invisible seam stitch, and it is so simple. Okay, so now we are going to, oops, that's frayed a little bit, so we're going to cut that. We're going to thread our yarn needle again, and now we are going to do the mattress stitch. That is a really cool seam as well. Again, it's still already joined in the corner stitches, and this time I'm going to leave my squares facing up next to each other. And we are going to go into the back loop of this first stitch and pull through. And then we're going to come up the back loop only of the first stitch on this square and pull through. Going to go into the back loop only of the next stitch. And again in the back loop only of the stitch of the next square. Oops, got a little piece. Come on, there we go. Now this one I am going to keep loose and not pull tight just yet, so that you can see what it's doing as we go back and forth from underneath in the back loop to underneath in the back loop, and it's just like we are lacing up our sneaker. And that's all we're going to do for the mattress stitch. Back loop only. From the underneath of each square, and you can see that it's just kind of giving this laced look as we go. This stitch is very good if you have a lot of weight on your project, like if it's going to be a heavy winter sweater, or it's going to be a purse, a large bag that you're going to be carrying a lot of things in. This stitch is very sturdy and can handle a lot of weight. So that's what you would want to use this stitch for. We're just about at the end so that I can show you the magic of this stitch once you've completed it. Okay, so just now in the corner and in the corner. Okay, so you can see that it's back and forth like stitches in a shoelace. So now if you take both these ends and you're going to pull it, it's going to disappear. Watch. There we go. And there you have it. You cannot see it. It is absolutely beautiful, especially if you ended up using the same color yarn like I said before. This is gorgeous, and it's such a sturdy stitch. Okay, and last but not least, again, we're going to sandwich together. And this one is the single crochet seam. And we are going to place our crochet hook now, not with a sewing needle, but with our crochet hook. And we're going to pull our yarn through. And then I use both strands to initially just lock it in. So I'm going to go under the first stitch, both loops, and then under the back stitch, both loops, and single crochet. Okay, now that's all we're going to do all the way across is we're going to line up our stitches. And under both loops, single crochet. Under both loops of each stitch, front and back, single crochet. And that's all you do all the way across. Now I'm going to stop halfway through because I want to show you what happens when you flip it over. This is on the back side, doing it this way, and you can see this ridge. And then when you flip it over, it almost looks like the whip stitch, just going around and around and around. If you were to do the opposite and have the outside of your squares facing out, and you were to do the same thing, join in your corner and then single crochet under both loops in each stitch of each square, we have the ridge on the top side. There are certain reasons why you would use this seam on the top side like this, and one of them is this sweater jacket that I crocheted. You can see that I outlined each one of these squares with black yarn using the single crochet seam on the right side of the squares because I wanted that look. So that's the 4 most used seams for granny squares. I hope that this tutorial was helpful. Please leave a comment below. Let me know which is your favorite seam that you use the most. And until next time, bye!